ahead and start.
Shall we start on the bullfrog here?
It's off the side, yeah.
All right.
So as far as the first initial cut?
Yeah, so you want to cut, we want to, the body cavity is right in here. It's a fairly large body cavity, so we want to expose that. And you can use scalpels or scissors. I like scissors, just gives you a little more control.
As far as depth or anything? Or?
Yeah, well, you don't want to jab down in, into the cavity itself, and you try not to stay away from the muscle layer. But with frogs, the skin's pretty loose.
Oh, may kind of show that.
Oh, sure. Yeah, so the skin's pretty loose, so usually you can just kind of get down there. And that's when you can do the initial cut. And so you can get down and cut through that skin. And see if I can get a little sharper.
It isn't very thick, is it?
No, the skin is very thin, and
any chance of hurting anything here?
Not really. I'd say you don't want to cut down into the muscle layers too much if you can help it. But as you cut around that,
what I find kind of unusual is that compared to like the human anatomy, is that's nothing really attached. I mean, the skin
right? Yeah,
really,
the skin doesn't have a lot of connective tissue or anything to it that makes it hard. And in fact, once you really get going on these things, you can pretty much just kind of tear it like that. You can just pull it loose. So that's another option too. So especially if you want to study the muscle system and you want to skin the entire frog, you can do that. You get a little bit of attachment up here around the limbs. One thing you can do with a scalpel is kind of cut up here.
Oh, I know. Should I lift it up a little?
Yeah, you can lift that up a little bit so it shows a little bit better. But if you cut up there around like a ring around, kind of cut all the way around the limb, then that'll make that skin come off a lot easier. And so all we got to do is make a few incisions there, and don't want to cut you here.
Yep, I was kind of back here.
Cut away from you there. And so I'll do the same thing on this side, maybe, if I can get down there.
Yep, I'll kind of hold it up here, I guess.
Yeah, let me get back to my scissors again here and cut up around. Yeah, so in this case, we're not trying to be terribly careful about it. We're just kind of cutting up here so that we can, expose these internal organs.
You can definitely see the muscles there.
Yeah, veins and muscles coming up in there.
So the kids should be easy to identify, what should they cut, what shouldn't they
yeah,
cut.
Yeah, so you can see the skin, again, just pretty shiny here. Kind of roll that, doesn't want to quite roll off that internal membrane there yet. There he goes. So, there we go. So we'll just pull that up there and maybe just cut through there. Yeah, I said no point in being too fancy at this point.
There it is, yeah.
Yep.
Definitely so some muscles there.
Got some muscles.
I'll just hold that up for the...
Sure. Let me just clean that up a little bit there. There you go.
Kind of hold it up here. You can see that skin's removed.
Yeah. So the skin's removed from the area. We probably want to take it just a little bit further down this way to expose the abdominal area. Let's say for today that should be good. You can skin the legs too and look at the muscles there too. But for right now, we'll stop there. And so here's, unlike a lot of the others, we see a pretty thick body wall here, really, of muscles. So these are the abdominal muscles. This is called the linea alba. Okay. This line that runs where the muscles meet in the middle, and you can kind of see it's a little shiny here. You can see how these muscles are kind of run this way. Those are the rectus abdominis, or abdominal muscles, the famous six-pack in humans. Yeah, so you can see how that would be if those were developed highly. Those would stand out like a six-pack. And then up here, these large muscles that move the front limbs is the pectoralis, our muscles that we use to move limbs as well, from the middle bone, out to the arm. So they pull the arms inward, and so that's a strong muscle.
Which means too, we're saying bone, definitely bone, cartilage.
Yeah, bone, definitely bones. Smaller bones here, but there'll be bones that support that. And of course, with these animals now being tetrapods, four-limbed animals, unlike fish, which use their tail, now the muscles are big sheet-like muscles that move the limbs themselves. And so the trunk muscles become less important. Those big, strong muscles that move the limbs, particularly here in the back, are the ones that power the locomotion of the animal.
Go ahead.
All right. So now you see, really, like I said, at this point, we're not as concerned with the muscles. So we want to basically cut through down here somewhere.
Hold that up so we can.
Yeah. See, it's always kind of hard not to block the camera. I don't want to. Now here you don't want to go too deep. Just get through the muscle layer. There you can kind of see the muscles, and you can see the body cavity starting to open
Definitely
up.
cavity in there, isn't there? So
Yeah, big.
It's hard to make a mistake here, really. Or?
I think so. If you like, that's why I like scissors, because you press up against the skin. You know, you don't try to go too deep. If you're using a scalpel, then you just want to be real careful not to go. I'll hold that up just a second.
Yep.
Now what we got here, probably the urinary bladder is now is attached. It's all just kind of. I'll have to go ahead and cut that. I think there. We'll pick that up later. But the urinary bladder down there stretching. So pretty much just anything that sticks, you want to just kind of pull it away. And I don't know at this point, do we want to go? We could go all the way up to the pericardial, or we could wait on that.
Yeah, we may identify the parts down lower. And
Yeah, we can get maybe to that, because the heart is then up above the. You'll feel these.
so right now you're basically just removing the muscle
Yeah,
from that whole area.
moving that body. So here you can see the muscles, and and here's where the bone is right here. So in order to get the heart's kind of right here, but in order to see the heart better, you usually cut through some
Kind of
bone.
our current equivalent of a sternum, kind of. Then,
Yeah,
or-
yeah, it's called the coracoid, but it's
Okay.
it's the equivalent of a sternum. They don't have a rib cage. You know,
Oh,
frogs
sure.
don't have a rib cage like reptiles, birds, and mammals do. Actually, we can see quite a bit there, but we'll probably take a
Yeah.
little bit more of that off later.
It's a nice looking heart, actually.
Yeah, yeah. So well,
So were we correct?
Yeah, there's
Male, female? or-
sure looks like a male so far, because females
Does.
usually have the ovaries. You can see them earlier. We'll see in a minute. One thing, we'll see this, a lot of these frogs we've been getting lately, it depends on the condition, but you see all this structure in here. These big finger-like looking projections are fat bodies. And you can see they're paired. They're on both sides. And so they would depend a lot on the condition of the animal. So if the animal's in good condition, probably going to be storing energy in those fat bodies. Certainly what females would be doing that as they get ready to reproduce. But you can see they take up a lot of space. So I think the best thing, let's lay them down for just a second,
Okay.
Tim. I think the best thing to do is probably take fat body out, at least on this one side. And you can pretty much just kind
Kind of angle it this way. If we can
Oh,
go,
sure.
Just like that,
Can you-
maybe.
Can you see them? So pretty much, I'm just kind of going in there and loosening it up, just trying to see. It's not. They're not. You know, so directly attached to anything, and so you can pretty much just kind of probe them loose. Maybe.
Should I grab a hold of this here and we can?
Okay. Can you?
There we
Does
go.
that go? Yeah. So I'm just going to cut that fat body. You know, leave kind of the base of it
Leave
there.
one side to kind of
Yeah.
reference.
Yeah. For now, anyway, I think we can. We'll see if we want to clean it up even more. So anyway, yeah. So you can see how large that is, and that's the
Absolutely.
things are, and a lot of energy in that.
So I can kind of hold them up here again.
So yeah, I think I'll even cut this one out of here just so we get a little better view. Okay, yeah. So now we can see things
Absolutely.
quite a bit better. This one's kind of reddish, which is a little different. Oh, there's
Yeah.
some more fat body. Let me get that.
I was
out.
thinking the same thing. There's little redder
Yeah.
ones we have seen before.
Yeah. Now, maybe we'll get another one later on. This again, with things are these very young, must be a very young male. That is the testes right there.
That'd be paired then? And
Yeah, so there'll be another one on that side among the fat body. So that's very small.
Yep.
So that animal is not really in reproductive condition.
Some students might get confused with something very similar, looks very similar right
yeah,
here in the
and
middle.
that's the spleen. We'll try to pick that up later, but that's the spleen.
Mm-hmm.
So let's lay him down, or hold him up like that. Of course, this right away you see this very big structure here at the front, and it's got 3 lobes to it, a right and a middle and a
Mm-hmm.
left. And this is the liver, and livers are, in almost all vertebrates, the largest organ. You
Mm-hmm.
see largest internal organ anyway. You'll see these really large livers for storing fats, detoxifying things, producing bile, which is stored in the gallbladder. So very large livers, and so this is takes up a lot of the anterior part of
Which
the
is nice for
cavity.
comparative.
Yeah, easy to find and kind of see. And then if you lift the liver up, you should be able to find, although it's a little tricky. Here it is. Wow. Okay, right there is a little sac. That's the gallbladder. So the bile that the liver produces is stored in that gallbladder. Then there's ducts here that carry that bile down to the digestive system. It's helpful in digesting fats. It's emulsifier, breaks fats down and that type of thing. So bile is important. So got the big liver, and then another big structure right here you can see is the stomach. So again, the food comes down the esophagus, stored in the stomach.
Similar
Some
function to
digested begins
ours.
very similar, big storage, elastic, would expand. And then the stomach then, gives rise to the small intestine. So you can see all of this then long, the intestine is elongated, then curls up on itself. So the duodenum kind of part.
It does look loose in there, but it is connected, isn't
yeah,
it?
connected by these mesenteries. You can see these mesenteries, extensions that go. So here you can see more and more. There's that fat body again, but all that coiled tube there is the intestine. So a lot of time, a lot of surface area for absorption, a lot of food spends more time in there as it's broken down and absorbed. And then again, a nice differentiation in these kinds of vertebrates between here the small intestine now giving rise to the large intestine or colon. And so right here is the large intestine, and that's where the food, after it's been absorbed, the undigested food is there, water is reabsorbed to save water, and then the feces, the undigested food, then can pass out through the cloaca.
Okay. Again, the
So
common opening for...
Yeah, common opening for, now we'd have the urogenital system too. So digestive system really, you swallow the food, stored in the stomach, passes through the small intestine where it's digested and absorbed, and then food in the large intestine for reabsorption of water. At this point, we didn't look at the pancreas either, did we? We need to. But then so we did talk about the spleen being underneath here.
Pancreas a little harder to find then, or is it?
Yeah, here's the spleen. Yeah, pancreas is kind of weird. They're in the mesenteries of the intestine. So you got to kind of sometimes work it around a little bit here to find. I think it's right there. Yeah, there it is.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of blood colored in this one, which is kind of weird. But so it can be kind of fleshy colored, and it's right there.
A
The
little harder to
pancreas
see in
then,
this one.
yeah, and the pancreas there along the line, and the pancreas then, another one produces hormones, insulins, and things to help with digestion.
And then as far as you mentioned before about having external like nostrils,
Oh,
is there the lungs then?
Yeah.
How
We're
are
going to
they
get to the
developed?
respiratory system. The liver kind of hides those. Let's maybe cut that and move that back a little bit. There they are, wait, up there. Maybe we might have to wait, maybe when we're cutting into the heart. Well, there he is right there.
So again, similar to ours again?
Yeah, similar to lungs. They're elastic. They're not nearly as structured as ours. These are very kind of more like sacs. Ours have a lot of internal structure to them. And part of that's because frogs use their skin so much for oxygen, so they don't need complex lungs. You can see, and these would expand, of course, as they're inflated. And they're paired, so there'd be a lung, on each side, right and left lung. So here's the right one. This left.
So is there any reason we can't remove some of this and identify the
Yeah,
other
I think that's
testes
probably a
then
good
and show
idea.
that
Let's take
paired testes
let's
and-
take maybe we'll just go ahead and take the liver and the digestive system out, I think.
Okay.
And so here I'll get let's see if maybe we can get the stomach up near the source. And then
So basically removing the digestive system.
and
Or
then we'll kind of see if we can just kind
that
of
way the
take
students can
these-
see the paired testes.
right,
and-
and kind of cut some of these mesenteries, and as that comes down here, cut some more mesentery out. And then right here is this large intestine, so that's where it exits, and cut that. So there's our digestive system. You can actually see the stomach and the intestine and the large
Oh,
intestine.
there's the kidneys show up nicely.
Yeah, and so then we can just clean up a little bit of those fat bodies, I think, again. Here we go. And and then these show up really well in these. Yeah, these paired kidneys. So
Can function the same, similar to ours then?
right, they filter the blood, body fluids, take out wastes, and remove those. So the kidneys then produce, and then that would be the urinary bladder would pick up, store some of that water, and then again be released through the common opening, the cloaca. So a lot of times frogs, people frogs or toads in particular, they'll pee on you when you pick them up because they're storing a lot of water in that urinary bladder, and one of their defensive responses then is to release that water, which would be being stored. It's also why you find them in wet areas. A lot of times they can absorb food through their skin, or absorb water, through their skin and pick that up. Yeah, so nice, view here of, there's the testes, part of that, that side, part of the urogenital system, and then the paired kidneys going down to the urinary bladder. And other than that, you can kind of see that's pretty much where we're at.
Should we go ahead and cut up
Yeah,
the upper
then for the
region?
go look for the circulatory system now. Maybe we'll get that liver out of there. So you can see the heart kind of right up here above the liver, but I always like to say, I like to open it up a little bit, which would, you have to use scissors and cut through the bone now. You kind of hear that crunch and get some of that.
This is looking at 3 chambers in this one? Or
Yes, yes. Amphibians,
more advanced?
fish have 2 chambers. Amphibians and reptiles have 3. So they have 2 atria, a right and left atria, and then only a single ventricle. So the blood is separated in the atria, but it then comes back and
There's some of that, sac in
pericardium.
there.
Yeah, the heart surrounded by the pericardium, pericardial sac, and as we kind of clean that away, you can start to see the different parts there. I'll get my little forceps here. You can pull some of that connective tissue away.
This will expose the atria on top then? Is
Yeah, so it's kind of, you have to be a little careful here. You don't want to tear anything. Yeah, it should expose the atria and the sacs.
then we'll break, then we'll have, we'll show the...
Yeah, we'll show the injected one, which
Injected
will
one.
show the blood vessels better. Sometimes the uninjected ones show the heart. So you say, here's our liver again for reference, and then our, the coracoid, the bone rancoid here. Then right underneath that is the heart. And so you can see it's a pretty large structure. Vertebrates have a closed circulatory system, blood always staying inside the vessels, pumped under pressure, so there's rapid circulation times. And so you have the right atria, the animal's right, and so blood would enter from there, go into the ventricle. As it's pumped out of the ventricle, some of it would go to the lungs and the skin and pick up oxygen, return to the left side, back into the ventricle, and then out into the body. So there's a little bit of a mixing of oxygenated and deoxygenated blood in the ventricle, but it's still you're pumping the blood out to the body under much more pressure now with this 3-chambered heart. So it's definitely an advance.
Anything else you need to mention as far as any of the systems then? Or does
Well,
that
I'm
cover
trying to
most of
think.
them?
We got the lungs here. Our lungs here again
Yep,
show up a
show
little
up
bit
nicer, yeah.
show up a little bit better in our
Paired.
in that view. Pair of lungs, the liver. We took out the digestive system.
Yep.
Here's the kidneys and the urogenital system. So of a male anyway, I think we've
Yeah, so
pretty
we'll do-
much covered that. We can
At this point, we'll probably break then, and we'll
yeah
come back and
come
show
back. We'll
comparison.
show a female, and then we'll show an injected specimen as well, so they can see the difference between the
And possibly
what you
the
get with that.
larger...
Oh yeah, and maybe we'll
larger
take a look at
specimen.
our big frog too, just for fun.
Sounds good.
All right.
Now we're going to look at difference between male and female.
Yeah, male and female here comparison. 2 similar sized bullfrogs, but you can see in this case the female in reproductive condition on the left over here has much more full body cavity with full of the fat bodies and the ovaries and things like that. So let's take a look at her just real quickly. You can see again, here's the liver for comparison, and here are these large fat bodies again that are pretty extensive. I think I'll just go ahead and remove those. Might need a scalpel for that.
That's again storage of fat.
Yeah,
probably
storage
for-
of fat, again, probably for not only for body condition, but in this case to produce eggs and that. And you
I
can,
should ask you, as far as producing eggs, is this internal, external?
yeah, well, well, they produce. Of course, the female produces the eggs, but then it's external fertilization. So she will release the eggs into the water, and then the male will fertilize them. So the male usually is right there, usually even grasps the female in his arms, and then as she deposits the eggs, he will fertilize them. And then we talked about earlier, maybe interestingly with parental care in frogs. Frogs are one of the amphibians that does sometimes show some parental care. So they'll guard the territory where the eggs are developing, keeping predators away. There are some tropical frogs that move the eggs around, so carry them around. Sometimes they move the tadpoles around. So there's a varied and fairly extensive amount of parental care in frogs. Anyway, so here's our female again. So as we take the fat bodies away, we can see again the body cavity really full of, here are the ovaries, so all those follicles in there that potentially become eggs. So females capable of producing large amounts of eggs. And you can see they're paired. We didn't take everything off on this side, but there's ovary on each side. And then the ovary,
Have that grainy appearance?
yeah, it's kind of that grainy appearance again because of the follicles being round and eggs. And of course, the eggs then released by the ovary will pass down to the oviducts. And so you'll see those are pretty extensive again. There's a large amount of coiled oviduct. So the eggs will move down the oviduct toward the posterior end of the animal, and as the eggs mature and the yolk is put on them and some things like that. So all that's taking place as it travels down this long tube, the oviduct, and then the oviduct again will exit at the cloaca. So the females, the mature eggs then would be shed into the environment through the cloaca by the female. So big, yeah. In this case, this female
This is
probably
huge,
getting
yeah.
really close to reproductive.
Because we have seen a few
time
not
here.
near this big.
Yeah,
right? I mean,
yeah. And it would it's going to vary again, your frogs, whether they're what season they're in and how old they are and things like that. So you may not always see ovaries that well developed, but you could. It's real easy to see an ovary, much different than the testes.
Here, look this one for you.
So the male again, just much less stuff. We took the fat bodies out of this one already, but here's the two kidneys, and then here's a very small testes here. This is fat body again. And so then the testes, and the ducts are hard to pick up, but the testes and the sperm would move down along the urogenital tract and into the cloaca, and then the male would release sperm into the environment as well. So these males probably not in reproductive condition in this case because the gonads are so small. As they approach breeding season, the gonads get larger, produce larger amounts of sperm.
They may get confused too by the spleen there in comparison to
Yeah,
the
you got to be careful. Yeah, about that. Here's the spleen right here. Spleen's darker. These will often be white. These probably have a little blood going to them right now. They might be getting ready to grow. But so spleen's dark up in the mesenteries. The testes are down here, more associated with the fat bodies and closer to the kidneys.
getting paired.
Yeah,
there.
paired kidney.
And then as far as the injected,
Yeah, and this is an injected frog. We could see now compared to earlier what we looked at. So you can see the heart. So you can see it does pick up a lot of this latex around the heart, but it allows you to trace the blood vessels. So here as we see, we talked about the blood coming into the right side of the heart, the animal's right, going down the ventricle. Then it comes out, as it comes out of the ventricle, it comes into these large conus arteriosus and then splits into two systematic arches, one of these going up to the front of the animal. I think this one actually goes up to the front of the animal, and the one on the right side of the animal dives down into the body cavity, taking oxygenated blood to all the tissues. And in fact, we haven't tried this yet, but I'm saying there's kind of so much stuff there. I don't know if we can see all the blood vessels or how the color there. So you can see the blood vessels now coming out to all the different organs, coming to the stomach, coming to the pancreas, to the spleen in this case. And so, if you dig down in there enough, you can see probably the large vessels, the large aortas, dorsal aortas, that's carrying oxygenated blood down into the.
this looks single injected, probably, right? It's showing
Yeah,
very
it's
much
only
like-
not showing the blue very well in this case. Yes, I think it's like single injected. So I think we're hitting mostly the arteries.
But you can
this
really
case.
sick in the lungs, and
Yeah,
there's a lot of blood vessels.
a lot of blood vessels. Again, if you wanted to trace, these all the different arches down into the legs, the femoral arteries and things, carotid arteries to the head, you could do that. But it does take a significant amount of work to do that, to clean the blood vessels up and trace them to all the different areas that they go.
Anything else you want to add about the frogs, or is that pretty much cover
Well, I
most
think
of
it
the
covers it.
systems?
Like I say, again, very similar to human, other vertebrates. They have the stomach and the intestine, the gallbladders, the spleen, the pancreas, all those structures. Pretty much not different sizes and things and length, but the same basic structure that we see in all vertebrates. So frogs can be a nice way to study that plan without into the greater expense and more probably greater amount of time dissecting a fetal pig or a mink or something like that.
Well, thanks so much, Dale.
Well, yeah, these are great. They're great animals. They're interesting in a lot of ways. Fun to watch too. Just all the types of behaviors that they do out in the wild.
Thank you again.
Okay.